My name's Angelo, and welcome to We Want Picks. I'm going to do an updated breakdown for the new UFC 279. We have a new main event, a new co-main event, and a new feature fight. So I'm going to break down those three fights, give you my picks, my predictions, and my DraftKings plays, and then we'll talk about the rest of the fights that have not changed. Before we jump in, become a premium member. It is only $10 a month. You get a DraftKings optimizer. We have a full DraftKings optimizer that is pre-populated with projected ownership, projected scoring data, and it allows you to build anywhere from 1 to 150 lineups. All you do is click a few buttons and it'll build you a winning lineup using all sorts of algorithms and math equations. It is $10 a month. Not only do you get the optimizer, you get projected ownership. You get player ranking by salary. You get Prize Picks plays, Monkey Knife Fight plays, all of our bets the minute we place them, everything you could ever need. It is the best value in this space. $10 a month includes everything. There's no tiers to this. There's no add-ons. It's $10 all in. WeWantPicks.com at the top. Click Become a Member. So let's jump into the new UFC 279. We have three big fights, lots of switching, lots of swapping. So let's go ahead and jump into these. The feature fight, Jingliang is now fighting Daniel Rodriguez. So this is a much more interesting matchup. Jingliang, good striker, tons of power. And the reason I was picking him last time is because Tony Ferguson was coming off a bad knockout. I didn't think his chin was fully healed. Jingliang has incredible power. He can get it done. Well, this is a very different fight because Jingliang is absolutely a striker. He's got some wrestling in his pocket, right? He took down Magny, took down Zaleski, but he's a striker. He's looking to strike. He could potentially try to take down Daniel Rodriguez, and honestly, he should because Daniel Rodriguez will be the better striker. He's going to have the faster hands. He's got to be the more technical striker. He's going to have the better clinch game. He's just the better overall striker. He does not have the power that Jingliang has. He just doesn't. But he's the better overall striker. I imagine this is a striking match. I think Daniel Rodriguez wins this matchup. He absolutely wins this matchup. He'll also be the bigger man. If you remember, Daniel Rodriguez is supposed to be fighting at 180, and this fight will be at, so obviously it's going to be at 180, where Jingliang weighed in for a 170 fight. So I like Daniel Rodriguez to win this fight, and the beauty of DraftKings is they don't change salaries. They booked this dude at $7,500. They're leaving him at $7,500. He is the betting favorite, and you can get him for $7,500. And then we have Kevin Holland and Khamzat Chimaev. As we know, Chimaev missed weight. The dude, what a disaster. What an idiot. This guy was on top of the world. One of the fastest rises to popularity I've ever seen in any fighter. Conor McGregor type rise. The dude was main eventing a pay-per-view, albeit a weak pay-per-view, but the guy was main eventing a pay-per-view at 5 fights in the UFC. Everybody's talking about him being the champ, talking about him getting a title shot, and he misses weight by like 8 pounds, like an idiot. Absolute joke, clown, rooting against him, complete buffoon, effed up his entire career with this move. Unless he just murders Kevin Holland, which he will. He's got the wrestling. He's got the striking. His striking is not going to be better, but he's got the wrestling. And we all know Kevin Holland cannot defend a takedown. I like Kevin Holland to win the last matchup because that was going to be a striking fight. I don't think this is a striking fight. I think Chimaev, well, I guess we'll see, right? Chimaev might come out here and try to prove a point, and he could try to prove that point 2 different ways. 1, try to murder Kevin as quickly as possible, which will be takedowns. Or 2, try to knock him out. And if he plays that game, then Kevin's going to catch him, and I'm rooting for Kevin to catch him. But I think Chimaev gets the takedown, gets the submission. I don't think there's any issues here whatsoever for Chimaev. And to add anything to this, Kevin Holland, they asked him about this matchup, and he was like, this is a horrible matchup for me. I've got no wrestling. And he said, I've trained no wrestling. I wasn't going to wrestle Daniel Rodriguez, and he wasn't going to wrestle me. So he has not trained any wrestling whatsoever, and now he's fighting big-time wrestler. So Chimaev's the pick. Chimaev should win. I think the $9,600 still stands. If anything, I don't want to say this is an easier fight because Kevin Holland is better than Nate Diaz, but the reality is Kevin Holland has nothing to offer in the wrestling department. Chimaev might Jingliang him, pick him up, carry him over, drop him on his ass, start bombing away. And now we have the new main event. This is the most interesting fight in the card. We got Tony Ferguson versus Nate Diaz. 2 guys that were not going to win their fight now can win their fights. And the best point is the pricing didn't change. You can now put Tony Ferguson at $7,200, or you can now put Nate Diaz at $6,900. One of these dudes is going to win. And now you have an incredible amount of money to spend. You can get Khamzat, you can get Jalton, and one of these guys in a 5-round main event. This is going to be a wild, wild DraftKings week. I like Tony Ferguson to win this fight, and I'll tell you why. My issue with him in the Jingliang fight was his chin. Nate Diaz, yes, he cracked Leon Edwards, rocked him a little bit towards the end, but Nate Diaz doesn't really have that power, and Nate Diaz cuts quick. He cut open quick, both the Diaz brothers. Tony Ferguson, if he does anything, it's slice people up. So I think Tony Ferguson can start slicing up Nate, come out here, swinging away. And frankly, Tony Ferguson might have had a wrestling game plan. He was fighting the incredibly powerful Jingliang. And Tony Ferguson wrestled in college, so he might come out here with a wrestling game plan. I like Tony Ferguson to win this fight. Frankly, if you like Nate Diaz, book him. $6,600. Book him. He's probably the better value. $6,600 in a 5-round main event in a fight that should be essentially a pick 'em. Pick your side. One of these two dudes should be in your lineup. Frankly, Nate can win. My issue with Nate here is he seemed to accept defeat. He looks soft as hell compared to his last few fights. He said, I'm going to lose this fight, but what do I care? Everybody thinks he's the best in the world, and I basically just beat Leon, so what am I, the third best in the world? He's already said he was going to lose that last fight. He basically said he gave up on training to win. So I don't know what kind of shape he's going to be in. I don't know if this is the 5-round Nate Diaz that we love, or he just showed up, expected to just, let me get the hell out of here so I can be a free agent. And hopefully he didn't do that, because he screwed himself if he did, because this is a ridiculously winnable fight. And the only reason I'm siding with Tony Ferguson is because of the things Nate Diaz has been saying, the way he looked on the scale. Frankly, I'm not going to fight anybody on this. You want Nate Diaz in your lineup? $6,600 might be the best value on the entire card. Guys, I'm going to go into the rest of the breakdown. We're going to splice in the rest of this card so you can see all of it, depending what order you're watching this in. But before I go over, WeWantPicks.com, become a member. We will have the updated optimizer later Friday night. So if you're watching Saturday, you're good to go. That'll be pre-populated. If you're watching and it's not populated yet, it will be. Obviously, the chaos. Everybody's got to do recalculations on ownerships, point scoring, things like that. WeWantPicks.com at the top. Click become a member. And now here is the rest of the card. Opening up the card, we got Darian Weeks versus Johan Lionessy. I think Darian Weeks wins this fight. He's looking for his first UFC win. The reason I think he wins is his takedown defense is spectacular. He's got solid striking. He's got solid takedowns. And if you look at these matchups, Barberena, that's a super, super tricky fight. Ian Gary, super, super tricky fight. And he's finally going to be able to fight somebody where he can use his wrestling and use his grappling. And he's fighting Johan Lioness. Johan Lioness is a grappler. He's got bombs for hands, but he's slow. And his takedowns, while they're good, his takedowns are not going to be better than Darian Weeks' takedown defense. So I like Darian Weeks to win this fight. And I forget what the statistic was, but the vast majority of the time, this $8,000, $8,200 spot, the winner of that fight usually ends up in an optimal lineup. So you can pick your side. Johan will certainly be live for a TKO because he has freaking bricks for hands. But I like Darian Weeks to get this done. And, he is at an affordable price and could be in my lineup. We've got UFC debut Melissa Martinez, so there's no data here, but she is fighting Elise Reed. And Elise Reed is interesting because she's hot and cold. She is a talented fighter. She can strike. She can dance around, strike. She has good, solid technical striking, but no power. But the reason I say she's hot and cold, so Sijara Eubanks absolutely destroyed her. But that was a grappling loss at a weight class that wasn't hers on short notice. But then she came out and beat Corey McKenna in the underdog spot, $7,400. She scored 70 points, but she danced around, landed those strikes, and did what she was supposed to do. And then Hughes just absolutely beat the brakes off of her, Sam Hughes. So that one was a little tricky, especially because that went into the third round, and it was somewhat competitive, but as soon as Sam Hughes got on top, Elise Reed was just like, I'm done here. And that's what concerns you about Elise Reed, right? Is that, I don't want to say she's got some quit in her, but, you can take her down, you can beat her up. But that's also what's tricky. All of Elise Reed's losses are grappling based. Every single loss on her record, she was taken down and lost there. This will be a striking match. Melissa Martinez is a very good striker. She's got legitimate power at this weight class. So we're really going to find out how good Elise Reed's striking is because she's fighting another striker. So listen, I think Melissa Martinez wins this fight. With that being said, I don't necessarily think she's worth the money because she's a UFC debut, and Elise Reed certainly can dance around, touch and go, and win a 70-point decision like she did against Corey McKenna. So I'm probably not going to touch this fight. I do think Melissa Martinez wins, but frankly, Elise Reed, does have a clear path with the technical striking. Then we've got my first favorite underdog on the card. We got Chad Anheliger. And I butcher these names. I'm sorry, guys. He's taking on Haley Alateng. Chad Anheliger, or Anheliger, whatever it is. He's a real prospect. His fighting style is he's got power in his strikes, and if it gets to the ground, he's got good jiu-jitsu, or he could bomb away on top. And that is, what happened in his last fight. Cracked straighter, pounced on top, TKO'd him. And Chad's a legit threat, especially in this underdog fight. And he is fighting Haley Alateng. And Haley Alateng is a very, very talented fighter. The issue with him, though, is that he'll wait. He'll just wait. He'll take his time. He'll wait. But that is not what happened against Kevin Kroom. He came forward, blasted this dude, put him away, and put up, real numbers because he got all sorts of bonuses, including the quick win bonus. But he also can be hot and cold. He is a technical striker. He can work in grappling when he needs to. And that's the core to this fight. I think Chad has the power, and I think he can win the striking exchanges. Haley has the grappling and can get the takedowns. Chad has been taken down 9 times in 2 fights in the UFC. 9. That's ridiculous. That's a lot. That's a lot. Especially considering that, his last fight didn't even go the distance. He was still taken down. And that's what makes this tricky because Haley Alateng can take down Chad, can hold him down the exact same way he beat Dana, who's also a powerful striker. But the difference between Dana and Chad is Chad doesn't care if you take him down. He works back up, he doesn't get frustrated, and he works for those finishes. He's been taken down 9 times, and he's got 2 wins. And that's why I like Chad. The takedowns don't bother him. He doesn't get frustrated. He continues his power. He stays on his feet. He works forward. He works hard. And I think Chad gets it done. I like him in the underdog spot here. I fully recognize how talented Haley Alateng is, but I do like Chad. This is a perfect fight to check out in the optimizer. So premium members, it's only $10 a month. Premium members at WeWantPicks.com have access to our DraftKings optimizer. In there are projected ownership and projected points scored. And these are very complicated formulas, and a lot of effort goes into trying to figure out what those projected points will be. Take a look. Take a look in there once that's dropped later on Fridays and see if Haley is worth the 8,400 or if Chad is worth, his price point, because that is really where that data becomes incredibly important. We'll talk about who we think wins and why they win, but there are data scientists out there pulling ridiculous stats, building it, putting that together, and putting out these projections, and it's important to factor that stuff in as well. So premium members, WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. If you're not, it is just $10 a month. You have one decent lineup in a month, and it pays for many, many months of premium membership. Then we have Norma Dumont. She's taking on Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf making her official UFC debut. She's got that win on the Contender Series. Norma Dumont is a striker. She's a striker first. But obviously she can grapple, right? She took down Aspen. She took down Spencer. Ashley Evans-Smith, she took her down 2 times. Megan Anderson lost, but took her down once. And that's the problem with this fight, because while she is a striker, she will not be the better striker in this matchup. She's fighting Danielle Wolf. I'll click on her, but there's not going to be any data here. She's fighting Danielle Wolf. Danielle Wolf is a former boxer, a very high-level boxer with multiple national championships. She should have been an Olympian. They just didn't add her weight class to the Olympics. And strike for strike, Danielle's going to be the better striker. Period. End of story. But Norma Dumont can work in takedowns. And we just don't know what Danielle Wolf's takedown defense is going to be. We haven't seen it yet. Like a half-assed takedown attempt is nothing. So we haven't seen what she's going to look like in a real fight that gets to the ground. Norma is good, very smart. She's going to come in here. She's going to take down Danielle and probably get a stoppage, honestly. So at Norma Dumont may be worth the $9,200. The only reason I'm probably not going to touch it is because every fight starts on his feet. And, Danielle Wolf is a very, very high-level boxer and could genuinely make something work. So I'm not going to throw Norma in my lineup, but listen, she should be in some of your lineups. Any of you multi-entry people, she should be, because the reality is she can get a takedown and a submission or a takedown and a TKO inside of a few minutes. So very clear path for Norma, clear path for Danielle as well if she can keep it on her feet. We just don't know yet. We haven't seen enough. That's the only reason I'm not throwing Norma in my lineup, because for all we know, Danielle's got phenomenal takedown defense. And that takes us to Jake Collier, and he's taking on Chris Barnett. Jake Collier is a volume striker, right? He started his career as a middleweight, very talented, well-rounded guy. He's put on a few pounds, left off a few miles in his jogs, and now he's a heavyweight. Looks sloppy, but you put looks aside, the dude's talented. He's got legit high-level striking. High level, maybe that's extreme, but high-volume striking. He puts it out there. He comes forward. He's got a chin on him. And the reality is this Carlos Felipe fight, razor thin fight. That could have gone his way. Andrei Arlovski, he straight up beat the dude. He beat Andrei Arlovski. That was just a bad decision. And what's really impressive is his last couple of fights, took down Chase Sherman, submitted him. He took down Andrei Arlovski twice. Andrei Arlovski is a legend with very good takedown defense. Jake Collier took him down twice. Jake Collier is very good. $9,100, probably worth it because he's fighting Chris Barnett. And when I broke down this fight earlier in the quick picks video and in their full breakdown video, I mentioned Chris Barnett's going to be the more talented guy. And he is. He's got ridiculous power in his hands. He's incredibly fast for his size. And he's versatile. Wild spinning kicks. He's doing backflips after his wins. This guy is athletic as hell with very real power. The problem is he's all hammer, no nail. Ben Rothwell, listen, that Chris Barnett stepped on by short notice. Ben Rothwell has beaten everybody, and he's a monster. So let's put that one aside. Chris Barnett beat Jean Vellante, but he actually didn't look amazing up until that spectacular knockout. But Martin Bidet worked Chris Barnett start to finish. Chris Barnett tried to take an easy way out, with an illegal strike. He tried to pull an Aljo. It didn't work because they were too far into the fight, and the ref said it was an accident, so it goes to the scorecards instead of a loss or a no contest. So I think Chris Barnett loses this fight. I think it's actually better for the division if he wins. He's an exciting guy. And if I knew for a fact Chris Barnett would move forward and throw and push the pressure on Jake Collier, I'd pick Chris. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think Jake's going to stay in his face. Chris is going to get frustrated, potentially break. So Jake Collier is going to win this fight. Probably worth the $9,100 if we see Chris break. Then we have Toulan, and he is taking on Jamie Pickett. This fight has been rebooked. This is supposed to be at UFC Vegas 58 in July. Dennis Toulan is Jacob's lock of the week this week. Jacob has won 9 lock of weeks in a row. If you don't know what the lock of the week is, it is an underdog. He picks an underdog every single week. 1. And he's got it 9 in a row. This dude is picking underdogs at 69%. The rest of you aren't even picking fights at 69%, let alone underdogs only. So there is something to be said about that. And if you're on that Jacob train, then throw Toulan in your lineup. He is an underdog. He's only $7,900. He's a come-forward fighter. He's always looking for a finish. The problem is he can get into a slugfest, and the reality is he probably wants to be there. He probably wants a chaotic fight, but there are holes in his grappling. He's got power in his hands, but if you take him down, you can work from there. He's fighting Jamie Pickett. I think Jamie Pickett wins. So Jacob and I are split on this, but frankly, Jacob's been doing really well lately, and his lock of the week has been smashing. So while I disagree with it, I got to respect it. But, Jamie Pickett is a solid striker. He's very long. He can manage range well. And if you look at the stats, he does get hit more than he hits his opponents, which is concerning. But it's because he's gun shy. So he'll get hit a few times and then he'll throw. When he throws, it's solid. It connects. It's there. And that's the issue with Jamie Pickett. If I knew Jamie would come forward, if I knew Jamie would push the pace, he'd be a very easy throw him in my lineup for sure. But you just don't know what you're going to get. He is a little bit gun shy. I do think he wins, and the reason I think he wins is I think there's a good gap on the ground. Jamie Pickett has 8 takedowns in the UFC. 8. And I think that's going to matter here. I think he's going to be able to take Dennis down and then work from there. He took down Holmes. He took down Staropoli. He took down Nchukwu. And these are 3 solid strikers. He took them down. Obviously, Nchukwu beat him, but he still took down Holmes, Staropoli, and he was still able to take down Kennedy Nchukwu. So I think Jamie Pickett wins, and I think he's a good price point if he wins, obviously. But, again, I don't know how comfortable I am going against the lock of the week at this point. It's going to lose eventually. He's not going to go forever, but I'm not going to disparage that streak of his. And then we've got Julian Erosa taking on Hakeem Dawodu. Julian Erosa, Juicy J, $7,300. The dude's a dog. He's a straight-up dog. He comes forward. He's very violent. Tons of finishes. Every single thing he throws is with a 100% intent on finishing the fight. But I'm going to break this breakdown down. I'm going to break this breakdown down. How many times did I repeat that? I'm going to base this breakdown on these guys' last fights. Julian Erosa beat Steve Peterson, but it was a split decision. He was outstruck. Steve Peterson's not a very good striker. He was outstruck, and the only reason Julian Erosa won is because hit the wrong button. The only reason Julian Erosa won is because of these takedowns. He got a couple last well-timed takedowns, and that's what did it for him. And he scored a ton of points, 112 points. It was a dogfight, and that's what Julian Erosa does. But if we look at Hakeem Dawodu's last fight, he outstruck Mike Trizano. And Mike Trizano's a very good technical striker. And Hakeem did a great job in that fight. Julian Erosa relies on his chin, and he relies on it way too much. Hakeem, while he doesn't have a million knockouts in the UFC, he hits hard, he hits fast, and he's not headhunting. He's just staying technical, working it, and if knockout's there, great, and if it's not, he doesn't care. He's going to stay technical, stay in your face. He only lost this Evloev fight because of the grappling. I think Hakeem gets this done. I think it's a pretty straightforward win for Hakeem. I know Julian is a dog. Julian's not going to stop coming forward, but we have seen his chin start to react. Just like with Tai Tuivasa and Cyril Gane. Eventually that chin's going to give out. We saw some cracks when he fought Black Beast. We saw some cracks when Greg Hardy blasted him, and then Cyril Gane pushed it over the edge. Same thing with Julian Erosa. Saw some cracks in that Steve Peterson fight. Hakeem might be able to put it over the edge. If not, it's going to be a striking match. Hakeem's the much, much, much more technical striker, faster, hits harder. I like Hakeem Dawodu in this matchup, and I'll potentially have him in my lineup. Then we have Jailton Almeida, who's an absolute beast. He's taking on a short notice Anton Turkalj. Jailton Almeida, 2 incredibly dominant wins. 2. He beat my buddy Parker Porter, and I was surprised because Parker Porter is a pretty big heavyweight with gigantic thighs, a low center of gravity, and he can grapple, he can wrestle, and Jailton Almeida was still able to take him down. He almost made it look easy, and Jailton Almeida is a 205-pounder who went up to heavyweight and had no problems taking down a heavyweight as big, low center of gravity, and strong as Parker Porter, and that was genuinely impressive. So Jailton Almeida is the real deal. $9,500. Spend the money. He should be in your lineup. He is fighting Anton Turkalj, official UFC debut, stepping up on short notice. Anton is a really fun striker. A very fun striker. He can grapple as well. He's not only a striker, but he is a fun striker. He does have some, pretty impressive risk-taking style, right? He'll spin, he'll jump, he'll charge forward. He really mixes up his striking. And if he comes straight at, Jailton Almeida, he might find some success, but I imagine Jailton's just going to drop, shoot, and go from there. But Anton can grapple as well. He had 11 takedowns, 11, 2 1s next to each other, takedowns in his Dana White Contender Series fight. So he can grapple as well, and that probably should be his game plan. Immediately shoot. Just immediately shoot. Because if you let Jalton shoot, he's proven to be so ridiculously strong, fast, and powerful that you're going to have a hard time defending that takedown. If you shoot first, maybe you can get on those hips. It's always easier to finish a takedown than it is to defend one. So I like Jalton Almeida to absolutely murder Anton Turkalj. He will be in my lineup. There's not many short things on this card, but that's probably one of them. And then we have, where are we? Johnny Walker. Johnny Walker opening up the main card. He is taking on Jan Cutelaba. Listen, Johnny Walker at one point in time was phenomenal. Very good striker. Very dynamic striker. Solid grappling. Solid takedown defense. Good power. Decent chin. And then he started to go train at SBG Ireland. And all of a sudden, he's like slowing down, not throwing enough strikes. Lost the staring contest to Thiago Santos. Jamal Hill absolutely flatlined him. And you just don't know what you're going to get. If we're going to get the Johnny Walker that worked his way up to a title fight, I'll take that Johnny Walker. That Johnny Walker win. Oh, not a title fight, but, had those solid wins in a row. And yes, he lost to Corey Anderson. But then Nikita Krylov lost. He beat Ryan Spann, which was a very solid win. And then downhill again. But if we get this Johnny Walker, even with the Corey Anderson loss, right? He got clipped. But if we get this Johnny Walker here, the 2019 Johnny Walker, he beats Jan Cutelaba. Because Cutelaba is a straight-up grappler who has power in his hands, but he has his own chin issues. The dude can be put out. So if Johnny Walker came forward, put on a pace, and just started blasting away, he could put out Cutelaba, no problem. The problem is Johnny Walker, we just don't know what he is lately. He has not been letting his hands go. He has not been that wild, versatile striker that made him a prospect. And that's essentially what this fight is, 2 busted prospects. But I got to go with Jan Cutelaba here because the grappling is a clear path, because we've seen Johnny Walker get taken down and, multiple times. And if Jan Cutelaba isn't worried about the volume in the striking, he can throw those big power bombs, then work in takedowns instead of just diving at the legs desperately because he's afraid of Johnny Walker. He doesn't need to be afraid of Johnny lately because Johnny hasn't been very high volume. I think Cutelaba wins this fight. He's probably worth $8,600. He might be some of the best value on the card because in all likelihood, he'll get a stoppage here. But if Johnny Walker shows up looking like 2019 Johnny Walker, he blows through Cutelaba. Johnny Walker's the more talented fighter, but SBG Ireland they're a fun sponge, but with talent. Sucked it right out of him, threw it in a drain. Then we got Macy Chasson taking on Irene Aldana. You guys don't like my pick here, but I like Macy Chasson here, and this is why. The 6 takedowns against Norma Dumont. 6 takedowns against Norma Dumont. So Macy Chasson, super long, super rangy. We knew that she could strike and stay on the outside and pick people apart, and now we know she can take people down often and have success there. And I think that's what this fight is. Irene Aldana hits real hard, is a good striker, does have pretty good takedown defense. But honestly, if she doesn't knock out Macy, she's not going to win a technical striking fight because Macy's so long she can stay on the outside. She's not going to shoot her own takedowns against Macy. Macy's going to be the one that can shoot the takedown. So Irene does have a clear path to victory, and that is with the power in her hands. But I think Macy gets it done. I think she can stay on the... Macy has 2 ways to win. Stay on the outside, technical strike, work takedowns, and go from there. Irene has 1 way to win. Defend takedowns, bomb away. Work on the inside, bomb away. And she can win that way. She's done it before. She smoked Vieira, smoked Kunitskaya. She could absolutely do the same here, but I like the fact that Macy Chasson has those 6 takedowns in that last fight. And even, like, yes, she got submitted by Rocky Pennington, but she got the takedown there, and was submitted by one of the best women in the division. So anyway, I think Macy Chasson gets it done. You need underdogs in your lineup, and I think she's one of the better underdog picks. The 2 people, your 2 core plays, Chimaev, Jalton Almeida. Work your lineup from there. Those 2 need to be in it. And check out the optimizer, guys. The optimizer will give you projected points earned, projected ownership, so you can build a lineup that really separates yourself from everybody else. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member. It's freaking $10 a month. Not only do you get the optimizer, not only do you get all the projections, all the rankings, you also get every single one of our bets, every single one of our picks, and everything else. It is only $10. We will never, ever touch that price point. It'll always stay $10. While all these other idiots are trying to charge you $50, $30, pretending that $25 is a value, we are here giving you everything under the sun for $10, and we're never going to touch it because I'd rather have 10,000 premium members at $10 than far less at $50. WeWantPicks.com. At the top, click Become a Member.